All right. I wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you all for showing up today. Today, we're going to be going over the training. It's called Diving Deeper. It's building off of our first training we have that we provide. So this is kind of the more advanced one. We're going to get into a little bit more of how to kind of work with your layouts that you have, maybe make some more unique pages as you're kind of building on and adding on to your site. So we're going to kind of go over and go over the layout builder a little bit more in depth here. So today we're going to go over the introductions. Again, I'm sure all of you know who I am, but for those of you who don't, my name is Vincent Salgado. I'm the lead on the agency platform, so I am in charge of the whole migration process and also just the platform itself to make sure it stays up to date and we're adding in new features for you guys to take advantage of. On my team, I have Ralph Bolvin and William Sizemore. William Sizemore is our BA, and Ralph Bolvin is our multimedia and also other Drupal developer we have on staff. But today, we're going to be just going over we're going to be creating layouts. We're going to go over custom blocks, go over the responsive design, kind of how to work with those blocks to make sure how it's to look on tablet versus phone versus the desktop. And then we're just going to get a little bit creative with what we do here. Just kind of show you some tools that are in the layout builder to kind of expand upon what you're doing here. So let's go ahead and let's get started here. Before we begin, does anybody have any questions on anything? Okay. As we go through this training, there's going to be some assumptions that there are going to be things that that I expect you guys should know at this point. If you guys have taken the first training, we'll do a little refresher. But for those of you who maybe have missed the first training, that's okay. I think you'll still be able to follow along. The platform itself is pretty easy to navigate. Now, I'm going to throw a link in here. I'm going to have you guys sign in to this website, this training website. The homepage for this website will be, I'm sending you two links. First, just to the homepage. And then the second link will be directly to log in here. So go ahead. Give you guys a couple minutes just to log in here. Your username is going to be training user, and your password is going to be password with a capital P, 1234. I'll give everybody a couple minutes. Now, with what you're logging into, Charles, the second one would be the one you log into. With this account that we're training here with today, it's actually a power user. So you have a little bit more credentials, and that's only because we're going to be kind of manipulating the layouts of things, how things are structured, the different columns that we're going to be able to take advantage of. So we need a little bit more of a powerful user to kind of be able to do those things. There's some stuff you can do with a content editor, but just to make sure we don't run into any kind of errors here. I think you should still be able to do everything with a content editor. But just to make sure we don't run into anything, I wanted just to upgrade us here to a power user. So I'm going to switch over here to my screen. So taking a look here, when you log in, you'll notice that you have that admin bar on the left side. That's something that we went over in the first training. Of course, we have our tools at the top, then we have our content and structure and so on and so forth. As a power user, you might see some additional ones, such as appearance or these extensions. And those are things you can pretty much ignore for right now. We're not going to go through those. And again, at the bottom of the admin menu is that little button that allows you to kind of just see the actual names of those navigation items. But again, just for more screen real estate, I like to minimize it. So it's just the icons. The more you kind of navigate around with the main menu, the easier it is just kind of remember what each of those buttons are. The first thing I kind of just want to go through with you is that we're going to start working on a layout for a basic page. If you're creating some kind of landing page or you just want to enhance the pages that you already have, we'll go through that as well. So taking a look here, I've already gone ahead and created a basic page for us to kind of work through. Um, Again, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, in order to create this kind of basic page, you would go through content, add content, and then basic page. And when you do that, all I did was I left the body blank. I named it, and then I made sure that I connected it with the main menu on the right side. So, but I wanted to take a look at what we have here. So, as we kind of went over this last training, we went through the kind of layouts, adding in maybe a slideshow or those cards. So I kind of want to refresh our memory here, since this is going to be kind of the basis of everything we do. So at the top of every basic page that you create, you'll have these tabs here, and we want to go to the layout. The layout is where we're going to be going to kind of adding in content, whether that's a slideshow, banner, some cards, or just some visual things that we want to be able to kind of share here. Uh, what I kind of want to show you here is just a little bit of the structure of what a basic page is. So by default, these are the sections that a basic page has. It has this top section, which is called just section one. And these are just, they're not labeled section one on purpose. It's just kind of the first one that's in this series of sections. So for this default section, it spans the entire width of the web page. So that's where we usually will put our banner images, or we put our slideshow, because it just goes across the entire width of the screen. And then down here, we have in our section two, which is usually where we have our title, where we have our breadcrumbs. And as you can see here, it doesn't exactly span across the way that section one does. It has these gutters on the left and right side. That's just to kind of keep things in line with all the content and things that we do. You take a look up here at the top menu navigation of the page. It lines up directly with these gutters. So we kind of just build those in if you want to make sure it doesn't go, full screen. You just want it to be right in the middle for people easier to read. Below that, in our basic page, we have our body field. If you were just creating a simple basic page and you want to just put in some static information in there, all you would do is just add it to the body, and then you pretty much be done. Everything else here is kind of by default. However, what we're going to be doing today is kind of messing around with what is here, with what our kind of our default layout is, in order to kind of create something that's a little bit more unique and to expand upon the things that we have been working on. So when usually I'm doing something like this, if I'm creating some type of more visual page, I want the content itself to be easier to read, things to kind of flow a little bit better, put some nice images that go along with some content that I'm working with. I usually just start with a blank page here, and I won't have a body field, because most of my content and editing that I'm doing are going to be through these blocks that we're going to go over. So because I know that my page is going to be a little bit different, I'm going to go ahead and remove these body blocks and this main navigation, sub navigation that's here. Now, again, if you don't want to remove these, you could just leave them there, and that's fine, just in case, because you don't want to mess with anything and break anything. I always do, just because I know it's just going to be cleaner. And also, if I ever remove something like this, I can always put it back in. So I'm going to just remove the body and the main menu navigation. Now, as you can see here, I'm doing it by individual blocks. I can just remove and add things in pretty easily. But in case you just wanted to remove an entire section, you could do that as well. So for this one in particular, I'm just going to remove this configure section 3 section. So once I do that, any blocks that were in this section will also be removed from that as well. And again, this is just me going in and setting things up for a more visual page that I know I'm going to do here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and just save that layout. So again, visually from the user's perspective right now, nothing has really changed. It's just this blank my cool page. So I haven't done anything yet, but we're going to start adding some things in here. So I'm going to go back into layout. And the first thing I'm going to do for this particular page, again, kind of just going over some stuff we went over last time, I'm just going to add in a simple banner block here. So because I'm going to go to this first section that spans the entire width, that's just what the look and feel that I want to go with. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go to this button called Create Custom Block. Now, when I create a custom block through this menu, it's only going to be available this one time that I'm doing it. If we're going to be using the same block over and over again, we would actually create that in a different menu. And we'll go over that in a bit. But just know that there is reusable blocks and there's blocks that you only use one time. And for these, if I'm going through this menu and I go and add in a custom block, a new custom block, this will only be available to me one time. I can't reuse it. I can still move it around, but if I want to use it on a different page, I'm going to have to recreate it. So for this one in particular, I'm just going to go ahead and create a banner block, which is at the top here. I'm just going to leave the default title. I don't need to display the title. It's just going to be the image. For this one, I'm just going to call the title my school page. So, and just so you guys know the difference, when this very first one, it's going to be on every single block that you create. It's called title. This would be the title of the block. This is something that's not being displayed. The title that's here in the second one is the banner title. It's the banner. It goes with the actual banner itself, and you'll see that here in a second. In the description, I'm going to leave that blank. The URL, I'm gonna leave that as blank as well, but I'm just gonna throw in a link text. Actually, let's just put HTTPS link text, learn more. And then lastly, just our actual banner image. So for this one, if you guys look through, when you guys actually open this up and you see all this food pictures, it was from our last training. Everybody was creating stuff for food pages. So we won't be doing that. No, it's right before lunch. Everybody's going to get hungry doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload an image here that I'm working with. We'll do this one. So image of a mountain range. So again, when you're uploading an image here, you want to go through each of these things, each of these crop types, and click on the picture itself to apply that crop. Then here's a slideshow, kind of what it would look like on a slideshow. I'm not creating a slideshow, but it's always good to kind of set these things in place. So eventually, when you do and you want to reuse that image somewhere else in a different place, whether that's a card, a slideshow, or something else, you will just be able to click on that and don't have to go through all these crops again. But the banner is actually what I'm creating here. So I want to make sure I'm taking a look here to make sure I line things up the way that I want them. So I think for me, it looked best right here. And then a square crop, again, I'll just choose the default here and scroll down and click save. Jacqueline, yeah. So all the text that are going to be a part of a block, whether that's the title, the things that you create, those things are obviously going to be read by the screen readers. So that's why we tend to try to keep things when we are uploading images. Try to keep the images and the text separate, just so it's easier for those screen readers to be able to read back to the people who are using them. So. But always be, when you upload images, always try to have a descriptive alt text. Okay. So I've added the image in here. It just kind of shows me a preview of kind of what it looks like. For this one in particular, I'm going to add in an image overlay. I'm going to have the text color be white. I'm going to add a block here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and click save. Whoops. Sorry. Menu got in the way. Okay. By the way, if you accidentally click out like I just did while you're working on something before you save it, um, you can always go back to the page itself and then click on layout, and what you've been working on is kind of saved in the background. However, it doesn't actually go to the public view until I click save layout. So it says right now I have unsaved changes. So again, if I go to the view page, this is what the public sees right now. So they haven't noticed it just because I added that block in there. It's still not saved. Again, if I go back to the layout, my work's still there. I didn't lose it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click on save layout here. Now it's been published. So kind of think of that as a preview before everything is published. But your work will be saved on there. I wouldn't recommend just having the assumption like I'm just going to leave it overnight while you're working on something. If you're going to work on something, definitely save it before you call it a day while you're working on something. I don't know if there's some type of caching thing where at some point you might lose what you're doing. I haven't tested that theory, so it should still be there, but I would just recommend just saving as frequently as you can. So now that I have saved that on the public side, we now see this banner image with my cool page on there. So does anybody have any questions so far? So far, we've kind of just gone over what we went over the last time. Alex, yes, the clear all cache function still exists in D9. Under the tools here, you'll see that it is just you go here and click on flush all cache. So, any questions on creating this block? Okay. So moving on here. Now that I've kind of created this banner image, what I'm noticing is that now my title has been it's here twice. It has my cool page and then my cool page again. I don't want to fix that. It's something that I think it's good enough to have the title in that banner region. I don't need to have it a second time. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove it from here. So I'm going to remove block. Remove. So now that that's removed, I'm just going to go ahead, take a look at what I have here, which I have nothing but just the banner and then now the breadcrumbs. So what I'm going to want to do here, let's say if this page itself was just going to be some accordion items that I want people to be able to drop down with an image. So with that, I want them side by side. If I were to just go ahead and click on add block here and then go to custom, as it loads, this create custom block. If I created an accordion item and then I created a image to go along with that, all they would do is just stack on top of each other because we're only working with one column here. However, what I want is that I want my things to be side by side. I want my image to be on the left side and my accordion to be on the right. So in order to create those columns, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a section. So right here, I'm going to click on add section and it brings up this menu here. You'll see all these bootstraps, 1 column, 2 column, 3 column here. We want to work with the bootstrap, with what bootstrap has here. For me in particular, because I'm just doing a 2 column, I'm going to go ahead and click 2 columns here. Of course, just as obvious as it may be, but I just want to point it out, if you want 3 columns, you will click on 3 columns here or 4, depending on how you want to lay out your information. Just think about it ahead of time, kind of plan it out in your head, drop a little wireframe. It'll help you out, kind of just design these things out. So for this one in particular, I'm just going to click on bootstrap 2 columns. One of the first things that you'll notice here is going to be this little menu that kind of shows you and working with the responsive design of things. Again, I had just how I pointed out before. We have these things that are called box. It's those gutters that are going to be on the left and right side. I'm going to want to kind of keep the default there so everything lines up. However, if you wanted to create a section that spans the entire width of the page itself, you would go ahead and go edge to edge with no gutters. But that's a very rare case. I think you'll actually use that. You'll only use it really for just the menu, the slideshows and the banners, and that's kind of already provided to you by default. But if you're kind of experimenting, you could definitely experiment to what edge to edge looks like, and then just kind of play around with that. But I would definitely just recommend just sticking with the defaults so everything lines up with all of your other content. So for this one, the next thing you'll notice that you'll have a desktop section, a tablet section, and a mobile section. So what this means is that how am I displaying my content to my users on a desktop? Do I want the columns to be 50-50, where they're exact same width on each side? Or maybe I want to have something a little bit more prominent on one side. Maybe I just choose that 25-75 look. And then maybe you want something 75-25. Now, these are kind of just the default things that we have here, the default sizing. We can always add on to it if you want to see more. What would be nice is probably have something that is probably the reverse of this, 33 and 67, just kind of complement those things depending on which way you want to go. But just know that this is configurable and something that we can always help you out with as far as obtaining exactly what you want. So for this one in particular, I'm just going to stick with the 50-50. On the tablet, I'm going to want it to be 50-50 as well. I don't think there's anything that's here that I think looking on it through a tablet view would still look pretty good, just like it would do on a desktop. But you always have to kind of just test around and make sure that that still is true. Then once it gets to mobile, I don't want things side by side on mobile. So when I'm on my phone, the screen itself is pretty small. When you put things side by side, the text itself won't look good. There might be some things just not really functioning properly. It's always best to kind of go to that 100 full width. So what that means is that now both of those columns that were side by side, they're going to be stacked on top of each other and just have 100 width column. So now that's good and that's kind of where this responsive design comes in. It just looks different on desktop than it does on the tablet and than it does on mobile phone. So when I open up this website on the mobile phone, these blocks that I'm going to be adding are going to be stacked on top of each other rather than being side by side. But that's because I'm making this call right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just add this section in here. Are there any questions on that menu and kind of adding in these different columns for these sections?
Vince, I have a question. With regards to the setup that you just did, is that going to be the template that happens for all the pages, or is it specific to just the page you updated?
So what I'm working on here is just on this page that I'm working on. So it doesn't change the layout for all pages. It's just this one in particular.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
So while we're going through and updating all of these websites with Cynthia, are you saying that we're going to have to be physically implementing all of this ourselves, or is it not going to be migrated over?
So when you say with Cynthia, I guess I need a little bit more context here. So, and I'll explain what I think you're meaning, and you just tell me if I got it right. But so when you go through the migration, when you're going through the turnkey migration, you're not going to have to do any of this. We're going to be providing all of this for you. This is kind of more along the lines of if you want to go ahead and start creating things on your own, that's on top of what you already have. And we're going through the ability of what you can, what you're able to kind of work with to be able to do. Now, when you go through the migration, whether that is turnkey, paid, or you're doing a self-migration, yes, you will have to kind of do this on your own, just depending on how you want things to format and look. But through the paid and the turnkey solutions, these are the type of things that we were going to be just providing to you, and we're configuring this on our own. So you don't have to worry too much about that. You're probably just more so worried about adding in content like your resources that you have, meetings that you may have coming up, events, those type of things. And that's all you would worry about. Does that answer your question, Charles?
Yes, it did, because I'm definitely not IT savvy.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what? And I would have to review exactly, your website and things that you'd be doing. This is a little bit more advanced, kind of taking a deeper dive of what you could do with your website. The first training was going over the various content types that are on here, and then you just be able to kind of upload those things. And that's 80% of the time of what you're going to be doing, whether it's a new event coming up, those meetings, press releases, whatever it is. All you have to do is go in there, fill out the form, click save, and then it goes onto the places onto the website without you having to worry about it. Continuing on here, any other questions before I move on? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a block into each of these columns here. For this one, I'm just going to add in a simple image block. So I'm going to go ahead, create custom block. I'm going to go to image. Just going to leave the default that's there. I'm going to add media. Choose a file from my computer. This one. Sunset landscape with arch look. Right, and go through, apply these croppings. I can always use it later. Crop, without the arch. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead, click save. Insert my selected image and add this block. So now my image is saved. As you can see, that last one I did where I just moved it over, by default, this image block just does a square block. We're going to be adding on more styles, so you can either use just the original image, but as far as trying to keep things consistent and a consistent ratio, it's always good to kind of go with what those presets are going to be. But we are going to have an option, so you can just do the original image if you want just a full image of what's there, whatever dimension it is. You'll have to be able to take advantage of that as well. But for this purposes right now, this I just want the square image. So next, I'm going to add in another block here on the right side. I'm going to go ahead and I want to create an accordion item. So for this one in particular, let's just say I wanted to answer maybe some Q&A here. So I'm just going to put question 1. And then in this body, I'm going to throw in some lorem ipsum. Again, for those of you who have been to my trainings before, I love using Cupcake Ipsum. We recommend that if you guys are looking for just a quick lorem ipsum generator for some placeholder content. So I'm just going to copy that. I am going to go back to the website. Got to add in some lorem ipsum. I'm going to add in another accordion item. Question 2. Body, and I'll do one more. Question 3. And when you want to, something we went over a little bit in the last meeting, if you need to reorganize how these accordion items are, you have this little arrow button here. This allows you to kind of drag it and move it around as you want to do. It's a little bit difficult because it's hard to kind of see everything at once, but it is something that you can just move around. Once you kind of get used to it, you'll kind of know where it lands. So again, if I wanted to push this up and have it be the middle one, I can always do that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and just collect and just save, add my block here. So now I have the accordions on the right and the image on the left. So I'm going to click Save Layout for now to kind of take a look at what that looks like. So here's my cool page. Here's my image, and then here are my questions. So when I head for this one in particular, when I open things up, it has nice alignment. That's maybe what I wanted to do. or maybe you kind of want to modify it a little bit. Not exactly what you were thinking, but this allows you to kind of just play around with the format itself and kind of look to see how things are. Now, does anybody have any questions so far as adding these different blocks and adding in these different columns for the site or for your page that you might be creating?
Vince, I had a curious question regarding doing that accordion. Is the accordion that you create, will it be contained within that block, or will it expand if you add more items into the accordion?
So, I guess can you give me
Yeah.
example?
For example, for a lot of the accordion items that I use on the website at the ICA, we go through FAQs, and oftentimes more get added on. And so I was wondering if everything will get contained and it just resizes, or if the actual accordion increases in size within the page. You see what I'm saying?
I think I understand what you're saying. So it's just a matter of adding in additional accordion items for these things, correct?
Right.
So,
and when you do that, will it increase the size of that block, or will it stay within the block and just be reformatted in its font sizing?
it will be reformatted in the site. So if I kept adding things here, it would just keep adding on down this list until I stopped.
Right, but will it go past, say, the how you currently have the block set up? You have the block with the picture, and then the block where you put the accordion. And that block, you can probably add, like, I want to say maybe 8 or 9 more questions before it fills the entire block. But then when you add 12, 13, 14 more questions, will it stay in that block, or will the block increase in size to go outside of that configuration?
Yes, it actually would continue to go. The block itself would expand, but the whole columns, both of the columns would expand along with it. So,
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's what it would do. So if I just like how this left-hand side item is taller than this right-hand side item right now, I could keep expanding upon that, and this would extend out this section to kind of and lower everything below it as well. So just keep that in mind as you're doing things. So if it was something along the lines where, like you said, maybe the first 8 questions are good there, and maybe you wanted to go down into a new section, at that point, I would recommend just creating 2 different accordion items and kind of keep that in mind as you're doing things. But it could be, a good format for you if you kind of align with your images and stuff like that. So, okay. Now, taking a look here with this stuff. Now, one thing I kind of noticed, maybe I think that you might look at this and just say, this image itself is a little bit big on the left-hand side. Maybe I need to have it be a little bit smaller on the left than I need those questions, those answers to be a little bit longer on the right. So I can always go back in and configure the section that I worked on. Just like I was saying here, you can always come back and edit things and play around with how they look. So this one in particular, I want my left side to be a little bit smaller than my right side. So on the desktop, I'm going to do 2575. I'm going to leave the tablet, because the tablet screen is going to be a little bit smaller. It might look actually better with the 50/50. And I'm just going to go ahead and click update. So when I do that, obviously now it makes my image here smaller, but it kind of lines up a little bit better with my 3 questions accordion items that I am doing here. But let's just take a look at that let's save it, and then on the view side. So taking a look here, that looks pretty good. I mean, it gets closer to kind of lining up. Maybe I could add in one more question in there to make everything look real good. But that might be the route that I want to go. It's not, the image itself is not as prominent, but it does complement my my accordion here a little bit better than having it be taking up half of the screen itself. But Alex, you had a question. Alex, you there?
Oh, hi, Vince. Sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
Yeah, I had a question regarding search functionality with these accordions.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran into issues before where there would be a search term that a user will look for, either using Google or using the search functionality from within the website.
Mm-hmm.
And the terms would be contained inside the accordion.
Mm-hmm.
But Right now, the accordion is basically closed. So when the user goes into that page looking for that term, they will see all of these things closed when they are looking for that particular search term that they are already looked for either in the search window or in Google. Now,
Okay.
is there a certain way that when a user types in a search function, that particular term they were looking for will automatically pop up into an open accordion where that term exists? Because I think that's where the issue is. I think it's like those tabs, like those quick tabs that exist right now with Drupal 7. There's issues with that because people would be looking for, they would be on the same page where that thing that they're looking for is at, but they can't look for it because it's hidden under multiple tabs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and that's a good observation. Alex, if you could do me a favor, and either on your website or shoot me an email of that. But on your website that you're working on, you have this feedback module here, or this little feedback button when you're logged in.
Yep.
If you could fill that out with that, what you're saying, that's something that I would like us to look into. That's a good point. One thing that we are going to be adding in here soon, one thing we noticed is that in the search functionality within Drupal, if I were to go and search something and it was something like you're saying within the accordion or a block that I'm creating here, it's having trouble finding it. We found a solution for that. We're going to be implementing that to add on. But I do see when you're talking about the accordions, if you search something, it may pull up the page because it's like, oh, it's on this page, but it doesn't actually show you what accordion item it is, and you kind of have to dig for it a little bit. So yeah, that's something that I will have our team look into to see how we can improve it. If there's anything that we can do about that, but that's good. It's a good observation and good feedback there. Thomas.
Hey, good afternoon, Vince. How you doing?
Hey, Thomas, how's it going?
So you showed us how to shrink the image by shrinking the container, the block. How do you physically change the image's sizes?
If you wanted to change it like on your own?
Right. Like, let's say I want that more, because right now it's a perfect square and I want it to be a rectangle.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways going about it. I know with your knowledge, what you can actually do is that there are different crop types that you can do within the actual cropping API that's found under your settings. So you can always add on to that and kind of create those baseline. What is the rectangle that you want to go for? I would recommend doing that rather than doing some type of free form crop or anything like that, just so you can kind of use those same type of images and things will line up and kind of have the same look and feel throughout your website. However, like I was saying before, we are going to have the different options. Right now, the platform itself only has that default square, but we're going to be adding in those other options where you can choose maybe some type of rectangle look, or if you wanted to have just the original image just displayed on there, so you can take advantage of that and then do your own cropping on some tool that you may have outside of this. But those, like I said, by default, this doesn't have it in there, but you can always add it in by going through the media here and then going through this crop types. And then you can add on additional crop types to go along with it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. That's actually answers my question.
Okay. And then once you do those crop types, you might have to look at that particular block. I would recommend, that's a whole nother thing too. Then you have to look into creating those custom blocks, create a custom block type you want on your own, and play around with those different crop types to apply those. So, okay. Any other questions
Thank you, sir.
on this stuff that we've covered? Okay. So moving on here a bit, I'm going to actually have everybody, we have a little task here for everybody to do. I'm going to share this tab instead. So the first thing we're going to have everybody do, while you're logged into the website, we want you to add a content. We're going to create a basic page, kind of what we did, how I did for my cool page. Don't put anything in the body. Just add it to the main menu under my cool page. So when you go to the menu items, just make sure you click on that then for the main navigation, and then go and select My Cool Page. That will put it directly under that on the main menu navigation, and then just click Save. So that's going to give you just a default blank basic page to work with. So once you have that in there, you're going to go ahead and click on Layout at the top. I want you just to remove the body block and then the main menu navigation, kind of like how I did. And then at the bottom of the page, I want you to create a new section and have it be choose Bootstrap column 3, add in 3 columns, and then add 1 block to each of those columns. Just if you want to just keep it quick, just do the basic block for each of those, just so they're all side by side. How you want it laid out on the mobile, tablet, is all up to you. Kind of what we went over. But I'm going to give everybody about 10 to 12 minutes here to do this. If you have any questions while you're going through this, please let me know. Yes, Arizona K-12.
My name is Michelle. I work for the Department of Education.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. So we were kind of last to come on into Drupal. So it looks like we're probably maybe another 2 years out from actually transferring over to Drupal 9. So my question is, will you guys have like refresher courses? Because I don't think I'm going to remember this 2 years out.
For sure. No, we're going to be hosting while this migration stuff is going on right now until the end of the fiscal year. We're hosting these trainings 2 times a month. We're also going to have recordings of these trainings. Now, I don't want to say just hold on to these recordings, because in 2 years things may have changed. Just in what's kind of how to do things. There's might be just little changes here and there. But when we're going to be hosting these trainings on a regular basis, even after the fact. I'm not sure exactly what the cadence is going to be after this fiscal year, but we definitely will still want to be hosting and providing better documentation for you to take advantage of. So when your time does come, if that's a year or 2 down the road, that you'll have up-to-date information to be able to kind of do this stuff.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I was worried about that. I was like thinking, I'm not going to remember this.
Oh, yeah, no. I wouldn't expect you to remember it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You have just about 5 more minutes. Again, if you run into any roadblocks, please don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm sure somebody else has ran into that same roadblock. Be more than willing to help.
Vince, when you say at the top, item number 10, add one basic block in each of the columns, is that just the text or did you want pictures? Because I'm trying to choose a block and I don't see basic.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so when you click on add custom block, there should be one called a basic block. But let me just double check here. Make sure I'm saying the right vernacular here. Block. Create custom block. Basic block. So it's right under the accordion item. Oh, you can't see my screen. I'll switch back to this task in a second, but just to share this tab. So Dennis, when I create that add custom block, there's a basic block here.
Okay. Oh, I see. I have to create custom block. Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yes. So just a reminder to everybody, yeah, so what Dennis is saying here, where he had his roadblock was when he went here, remember, always click that top button that says create custom block to be able to create those things that we're doing here. So when I create that, and I go down to basic block, that will allow me to create those basic blocks in those 3 columns there. About 2 more minutes. Okay. I think everybody should be done at this point. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to switch back over to the website here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to save the layout that I was working on. And let's see. So here, I'm noticing all of the test pages that was up here. So I'm just going to click on some random one here. Maria, if you don't mind, I'm just going to just click on yours. Example. So this is exactly what you should be coming up with here. Maria's first page, this is just something basic. I wanted you guys to kind of get that feel of creating those columns and adding in a block for each one of those ones. So this year was just a simple 3 text columns right next to each other. Of course, within that WYSIWYG itself, when you're adding in a basic block, you can do some stuff in there to kind of make it look a little bit more interesting. But I do think this is kind of a good first step for everybody to kind of take to get used to creating those different columns and just adding blocks to those and different sections, I mean, with those columns. But does anybody have any questions as far as that whole process or anything that they may have missed here? All right, we'll go ahead and continue on here. Now, everything that we've been doing, I'm going to go back to my cool page. So everything that we've been doing where I go ahead and I've been creating all of these blocks, this banner, these accordion items, this image, I'm only creating it one time. So if I ever wanted to take this accordion items and maybe move it over to Maria's page, I actually wouldn't be able to do that because it's only found within this particular page. Now, if I knew that I was going to use this accordion item in multiple places, there's actually going to be a better place to be able to create that beforehand before I add it into any page that I work on. So when you guys to the left-hand side, you'll see under content, you'll see a button called structure. So under structure, you'll have a block layout. I'm going to go ahead and click on the overview page here. So actually, sorry. You're going to go to block layout, and then you're going to go to custom block library. That's where you want to go. Ignore the overview, go to the custom block library. So within the custom block library, on this particular website, we are looking at a bunch of reusable blocks that are already made. A lot of this was for the demo content purposes, but we're going to be creating our own here. So if you were going through and you're creating your basic page, on that right-hand side, before you clicked on create custom block, these blocks here are actually available for you to already use to be able to kind of add in what you want to do. Now, if you're creating a page and you're not going to obviously use some of this dummy content, you might want to create your own that you're going to use on multiple pages. Now, for this demonstrative purposes, I want to create a set of cards that I know that every single one of these pages that in this section of the website, I'm going to want those cards to be available to be used on there. So I'm going to go ahead and create a custom block here. So again, this is a little bit different from what we're working on, what we were doing before, but it has all of those same components that was here before. It has the accordion, the banner, the basic block. For this particular one, I'm going to create a card set. So I'm going to go ahead, create a card set. The view mode, I want to create three cards. They're going to be right next to each other. So I'm going to create 3 columns here. Card set, something that we did in the past one. So this is very similar. We're just going about it and creating it so it's going to be reusable. So for this one in particular, I'm going to call it card 1. I'm going to add in some media here. I am going to upload a file. Let's take this. And crop my images again. Now, remember the first one we're doing here, this card teaser, this is actually going to be for the cards that we're working on here. So I'm just going to crop it how I want it to look. Slideshow in case we ever need to use it for a slideshow. Maybe just want the top, maybe a little better. Banner, same here. Square crop right in the middle. It's good enough. And I'm going to click save. Insert selected. There's the image for my first card. I am just going to put az.gov. More. Body. Do I still have lorem ipsum on here? I do. Actually, I'm going to shorten this a bit. And I only need that first one. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a new card. Card title, card 2, add media. Snowy picture of Monument Valley. By the way, just random thing here. If you haven't been to Monument Valley before, it's definitely an underrated place. You should definitely go and take the time to go out there and view it. I feel like a lot of people, when they tell their friends who are coming in to visit Arizona, that's definitely not one of them. They always say Grand Canyon, and the Grand Canyon is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Monument Valley, though, is definitely underrated. It was featured in Forrest Gump, too, for those of you who like Forrest Gump. I'm just going to add my crops here real quick. Just go to the defaults. Save it. And again, I'm sure whenever we've done links here, you guys have been noticing me write in HTTPS. You do that for links that are outside of your website. However, you can still call to particular pages on your website. So this, for example, let's say I wanted this one to go to contact us. I will just write in contact us, and it pulls up that page. And I could just say contact us, or the link text, so I can put learn more, whatever it is you want to put. But just know it doesn't have to be some type of outside text. It could also be referencing internal pages and as well as documents that you may have. In there, and I'm going to add in one more card here. Card 3, media. Choose files here. And one more. URL, let's say this will go to services page. Link text. More. Body. And now I'm done. Only one of those 3 cards. Now, if I kept adding more and more cards in there, they would just stack. They would go to the next row and have the next row of 3. So you can always have it. So maybe you just want 2 columns. So just keep stacking on top of each other. You can add as many cards as you want. But if you want that 3-column look and just 3 cards, that's the best way to go about it. But you can also do 4 columns as well. Now, so this is the one we just created. I called it card set. I actually should probably go back to this and change the title of it, because I want it to be something that I know that I'm going to go look for. So for this card description, for this block description, I'm just going to go ahead and change it to cool page section card set. It'll be easier for me to find. If you name it something generic and you want to go back and take a look at it or add it on a different page, you might forget what you called it. So always just call it, give it a descriptive title here. I'm going to go ahead and click save. Again, now it is on my library. Now I have the ability to, when I go and create those basic pages and adding blocks in there, I'll be able to select that, and I'll show you how to go about doing that. So let's go back to the home page. I am going to go to my cool page. I am going to go to layout. And I want this card set to be above what I was working on here, but just below my my breadcrumb here. So I'm going to add block here. And again, instead of going to create custom block, I'm going to scroll down here and under the section called custom, this is where I'll find my cool page section card set. So this is the one I want to look for. So you can do that, or you can go ahead and type it on here. As long as you're typing in the correct title, you can go ahead and search for it quickly. So I'm going to click on that cool page card set. The view mode, I'm going to want it to be a basic card. There's the different, just how it looks and feels. And I'm going to go ahead and create add block. All right, now you can see my cards were created. That one's having a little trouble uploading, loading up that image, but we're going to click save. See if that fixes it. That image is not working. I'll just go flash scash. I guess I can't do that from this user role. Let's just go back. So I have a broken image there, and that's something that I can fix. I'll fix that here in a second, but I do want to show you that now that I have those images, they're in there. What I want to do here now is that maybe I want to add it onto a different page. So again, I'm going to go to Maria's first page here. With her, I'm going to click on the layout for this page. Under her title block, I'm going to put that card set in there. So cool section card set. In that view mode, I want it to be basic as well, just so it matches with that, with what I had before. So as you can see here, now my card set is here, and it's actually loading on this page. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Save Layout. Now now that I have that as a reusable block, I didn't have to recreate it every single time that I was messing with this with each page. So that's good for me. Now I can always go back and say that there was something I wanted to change in here. Let's just say these things are too long. I want it shorter. So you can always go back to your block library, your custom block library, go to the cool page section card set. I am going to, sorry for the loading, it's a little slow. I'm going to say I just want a first couple sentences, change things around. Copy. Paste. So I did that. And also, I want to change it from 3-column view to a 2-column. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Click Save. So now that I changed that card set, as you probably figured, now that's also changed on both pages that I did. So if I go to my cool page, those images are there now. It shortened up the description and I added it to be 2-column rather than the 3-column look. If I go to Maria's page, the same thing will happen there. So that's the benefit of kind of using those reusable blocks when you know you're going to have them in multiple different places. So that allows you to kind of create this these things connecting. Now, for the most part, you're probably only going to be on that particular page. I wouldn't recommend keep going. I wouldn't tell you to keep going to that that custom block library and keep creating cards there, only because of the fact that at some point, if they're only being used once, just create it kind of how the original way we were looking at it. Because at some point, if I go into the layout and I add in a block, as soon as this loads, and I'm adding in a block, your list of all the custom blocks that you're creating is going to start growing. And it's going to be really large, and it might be hard to kind of find things if you're not labeling things correctly. It could just become a huge mess. And if you're only using it in one place, it's a little bit extra work to do it that way than if I were just to create a banner for this page and add it through the create custom block through here to this method. But does anybody have any questions on that so far? Yes, Judy.
So if you've created that universal block and say that you wanted that same block to be repeated on multiple pages, like 90% of the block you wanted to be exact on every one of the pages. If you had a small tweak to make, could you make it on that one page without impacting the universal version of it, or do any changes you make work through your custom one? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah, so if you were to change anything within that universal block, it's going to change it everywhere. You couldn't do it by just that particular page. So let's just say, for example, you had a universal text that you wanted on every single page, right? And then maybe on one page you wanted to add in an extra sentence or something that goes along with it or something else.
Right.
I would recommend, just for, let's say, Maria's page for this, for example, for just this one in particular, what I would do is just add in something through the one-time deal. So add that custom block, and then maybe that's just an extra basic block you put below everything if you wanted it on that particular page. So that's kind of like the long answer. The short answer is that if you change it on the universal block, it changes for everybody.
Okay, so in essence, if you're putting something in those custom blocks to make it universal, you want to use it universally no matter what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis.
In the same vein with regards to the universal blocks, can you add like files, PDFs, etc., onto those blocks so that they are referenceable from the different pages, and upon updating, it obviously will impact all the pages with the universal block. But I'm just wondering whether or not the file carries through.
Yes, it does. So if you were to add them, let's say if you were just doing a basic block that was for everybody, and maybe that basic block is just that document you wanted to share, a link to that document. Yeah, so if you ever change it or that document gets updated, it will change everywhere you need to do as well.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Any other questions? Yes, Judy.
If you created a universal and you wanted to change it, could you copy that universal into a basic one and then make your changes there?
Sorry, say that again.
So I'm just trying to think of a way to speed something up. So you've got your 3 cards here, right?
Yes.
And you like that the way it is. Can you take what you've created in the universal and then go through and kind of like a copy and paste and then edit it? So can you kind of copy all of this into something that is created it just on the individual page, copy it there, and then make your changes?
So like just be able to edit these particular cards on this
Yeah.
page, and then it will do it effectively.
Yeah.
Not at the moment. At the moment, what we would like to get, if I click on edit, actually, did we fix this? Okay, yeah. So on this, if I was on Maria's page and I noticed something, right? If I hovered over, let me go back. May have been too quick. So while I'm in this thing, I'm not in the layout. So I'm just in the viewing the page, but I'm logged in as an administrator. You'll see
Okay.
this contextual link pop up here. This little icon here. So if I click on that, there's a little edit button. Be careful not to click quick edit. It can kind of throw things out of whack on your website. That's something we're going to get rid of here soon because it causes more problems than it actually helps. But for this one in particular, I'm going to click on edit, and that will take me directly to that universal card or that universal block that I created, and I can go ahead and change it there. So then when I do that, let's say I'm just going to change this to card 1. Save. So now it takes me back to the Maria's page that I was looking at. So now it's changed on there. Like, okay, no, that looks good. And then now when I go to my original page, my cool page, it's going to be changed on there as well. So just kind of a quick way to kind of jump to that, change it while you're looking at that page, and then it changes everywhere.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, Dennis.
Might have missed this or so, but within the page when you have the universal blocks, are they designated or noted a specific way so that you can discern them different from other blocks you add?
So, yeah, it's all going to be based off of also the naming that you do. So when I go into layout, again, remember that problem you had where you're like, I can't find that basic block that you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you go in here, instead of clicking on, so those one-time blocks are going to be on that. So if you click on create custom block, it's just going to be a one-time thing. So how you discern it from the rest of all these things that are on here, they're called custom. So all this under the custom section are all those blocks, those reusable blocks that you're doing here. And again, it goes back to also how you're going to name them as well. So this one, again, it's called Cool Page Section Card Set. I know where that's at. I know that that's something I created for universal purposes. But if I wanted to create something that was just for this page, I would just go ahead and click on that big blue button at the top and then create it through here.
Okay, so anything that's specific to a page is through that custom. Everything else that's universal is within that section of that body.
Yes,
that you can select.
But you will have to go and create it beforehand, which would be under structure, block layout, and then go to custom block library.
Okay, I see. So in essence, if you want to be able to discern them, if you're doing page edits and so forth, you want to name it in such a way that you'll know this is a universal block.
Yeah.
Okay.
But always make the assumption that everything that is on that first menu page here, when I click on add block, that everything under custom is universal.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, let's take a look at our next task here. So I want everybody to be able to create their own reusable block. So again, go into structure, go into block layout, and then go to that custom block library. The button that's going to be at the top right-hand corner is going to be add custom block. Go ahead and select that and select the text with image. Give the title, the block, something that you know what it's going to be so you can find it later in that list that we've been talking about. Fill out all the forms, add in an image, and save the block. And then once you do that, go back to your page and add it somewhere. Because it's a image with text, which just means it's an image on the left side and text on the right side, try to put it into a 1-column place. If you put it into something smaller, it's just going to shrink it down a little bit. It might look a little weird. So just go ahead and do that. I'm going to give everybody about a little bit less than 10 minutes to do this. I know we're kind of reaching the end here. Now, there is one more task to do after this, and this is for people who want to stick around. I'm going to continue to go through everything, but I know that the time set till 1:30. This one's running a little bit long, and that's fine. We'll continue to kind of go through, but I will ask for Q&A in about 10 minutes just to see if before anybody has to head out.
Vince, I guess I'm stumbling again. Is it text with slideshow? Because I don't see text with image.
Yeah, let me pull it up here. Okay, let's see. So right above text with slideshow is text with image. Should be this one right here.
Okay, you're in a different section, so I'll have to undo what I'm going through then, because I'm just on the choose a block section.
Okay. Yeah, so you may have clicked on block layout here. Are you like on this page? This is what you're looking at?
No. I'm in the section where it has the configuration section. It says add section, add block in the blue and the gray.
Okay, yeah. So you're on the kind of like, that's the kind of original way going about doing that. But if you're creating a universal block, you want to use your admin menu to the left. And under the admin menu, there's a structure. It says 3 like stacked squares right here. And then you're going to go to block layout, and then either you go straight to add custom block, or you can go to the custom block library, which will take you to this. Yeah. And then you can go just to add custom block there.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
I'm gonna give everybody about a couple more minutes. All right, just continuing on here. We'll go back to the website. Going to go home to the home page. Then I'm going to move over to my cool page that I've been working on. So now that everybody's starting to start to add in their universal blocks, I'm going to go to layout here. I am going to go to. I'm going to add in a block right below my card set that I am doing. I'm going to choose one of your blocks that you made. I'm going to go with Disneyland. Who doesn't love Disneyland? Add the block. Roll back up. That is not Disneyland, but it is Carne Asada Tacos, and I'm not going to hate on that because that is the best place in the world. So as you can see here, we have an image with the text on the side. I'm going to add in another one. You can always add in that block yourself to throw onto your page if you wanted to. I will add in one more here as an example. So I will scroll down and let's go with food and yummy food universal. Add that on there. And I have another one here. So go ahead and click save. Now those blocks were available to me. I was able to use them. I can use them on multiple pages. Definitely recommend you put yours on your pages and play around with this. Does anybody have any questions so far as adding in these universal cards versus adding in these cards that you're only can use one time? All right. Before again, we're going to still stick around. We're going to go cover a few more things here, but for those of you who do have to leave, I just wanted to make sure that if you have any questions regarding anything that you guys are working on, I'll give about 5 minutes just to kind of go over this. Share this tab. Yes, Alex.
Hey, Vince. So a lot of these things are pretty useful, but there are some things in our website that I do kind of want to cover because a lot of them seems to be like custom built things on our site. Is there a way we could just meet with you and your team and we can talk about some of those custom integrations that were already built?
For sure. If you could schedule about like 30 minutes with me and my team, if you can find something on our calendar, we'll for sure, we'll be more than willing to sit down with you to kind of go through those things.
And I think I'm also planning, since I'm in the office every Wednesdays anyway, that Wednesday afternoons, I might just plan like a work support session for everybody that's on this group and they're open to come and stuff like that, so that if you guys have any difficulty, you don't really have to bother the dev team, and we can all share along with our projects so that we can all learn from each other, essentially. But I am planning to put something together like that. So let me know if you guys are interested.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, Alex. Thank you for taking the initiative on that. Anybody else have any questions before they got to go? All right. We will jump back over to the website. I'm going to show you some cool tricks and get a little bit more creative with the things that we are doing here. So just having the ability of kind of what we've gone over, I mean, that's going to cover 95% of probably what you're going to do, what you're going to want to do on the website. I think just kind of going through that, playing around with this, trying to look at those different components. How can you enhance with what's already there? We're going to be adding in new things for you to take advantage of in the future. But there's definitely some things you can do on here that kind of make a little bit more custom and kind of play around with what we have here. So one of the things I'm going to show you here, because we have all these text with image cards, there's one thing that we could do here. So one thing that we notice is that that the text with images that we create, they tend to all be on the left-hand side, all these images. But if I wanted to alternate that while I was going through, there's actually a cool little trick that we have here. It's just built in. We're going to make it a little bit easier than what it is now. But if I go to layout and I am going to select this, let's say this one here, for example. Under this, I'm going to click manage attributes. So when I do that, it kind of brings up this page. It doesn't look like there's anything here, but if I click on this block attributes, this actually allows me to add in classes. Now we have some classes that are in the background that's available to our in our code base that you can add on to different elements or components that you're working on to change the look and feel of how it goes. We're going to try to make that a little bit easier, just so that there's a drop down, kind of like how the card set is, and then you can select what view, how you want it to look. So it's one, you can have a card that says left image to the left or image to the right or something along those lines. But for the time being, we do have a little trick here. So if I put in this class, which is called direction reversed, and I update it, this will actually switch out the image and put it to the right side. So I'm just going to move that up a little bit and then click save. So we have a few different kind of like hidden classes, stuff like that you'll be able to take advantage of. We can always discuss about that more in detail we're gonna have something written up for you to kind of take advantage of those things to kind of show you how to do this stuff. So that's in the works right now, but that allowed me to kind of switch between these two. And then let's just say for one more thing I want to do here. One thing I might notice here says, well, these things are a little bit close to each other. I kind of want to add in some padding that goes along with this. So let's do this. I'm going to go to layout. Let me see something here. Figure, nope, not where I want to go. Should be under metric, but this is what we're going to do. So below this section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a new section. And it's going to be one column just like the one above, but it allows me to kind of do a little bit more with it. So again, I'm going to go with the default in the section, but then you'll have these other two that you'll see here. You have your style, which actually will allow you to either put color maybe behind in the background. It'll allow you to do things with typography, change the text color, depending on what you put as that background image. You can even use an image or a YouTube video as well. Be careful playing around with that because sometimes it cannot look the best, but it's definitely something you can play around with to see if you can come up with something that's a little bit more creative, something that's a little bit more unique for your pages that you're doing. You can always change the alignment of that text and then the spacing. Spacing is something definitely want you to take notice of because this is something that can help out when you start noticing that things are a little bit too close to each other. So for this one in particular, I want to add in some spacing between one of the sections where the card set is versus these other things that we're taking a look at here. So for this one, for example, because of the section I'm adding, I want to just affect some padding on the top. I'm going to put in, I would recommend 64, but I'm going to go ahead and move up to 128. Now, your thought, if you guys know some HTML, your thought might be, was that mean it's 128 pixels? It's not, it's kind of not the best. I'm not sure how exactly they calculate it, but I would definitely say play around with the different parts of the slider itself to see kind of what looks best. 64 always looks best. It's definitely not 64 pixels, but it definitely gives it some good padding here. So I want to do that to the top and to the bottom of this section. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And then towards the bottom, we have this thing. It's the animation. So the things within that particular section that you're working on, you can have it so it has a little bit of an animation that goes along with it. So for the ones, you can always play around with these ones. There's some that can look a little too quirky, but definitely one that I appreciate, and it's just something subtle, but adds to kind of look and feel of your website, is this fade up one. So I'm going to click on that animation. I'm going to go ahead and add this section. So that animation is for the entire section itself. So for that, I'm going to move this block down to this section. Show you what it does here. So now that block is down in this section. I'm going to remove this one. I don't need this one anymore. Remove block. And I'm going to save layout. So now, before I scroll down here, so you see the effect that it takes, that's now added in there. I kind of cleaned some stuff up that I didn't need. So when I scroll down here, you'll notice how, if you didn't catch that, it had a little bit of a subtle animation where it kind of came up and faded in. So again, I can do it again. So when I scroll down, there it is. Kind of gives it a nice little effect. There's some stuff in there that you can throw in, and it looks pretty good the more you kind of add those things around. It's a very subtle effect, but it will be for every time you scroll down, it'll kind of just fade in like that. But as you can see here, now there's a lot more padding between the card set that I was doing and this below here. So I'm going to go back into layout here. Maybe it's a little bit too big for my liking. I'm just going to go ahead and change that padding that's in between here. I'm going to go back to configure section 3. Pulls up that menu that we had. I'm going to go back to style. I'm going to go back to spacing. I'm going to look at the top spacing. I'm going to bring it back down to 64. And I will do to the bottom. So I would only recommend doing this to the top and bottom. If you selected all, it would have changed the padding and added more padding to the left and right of it. That can throw your content out of line with other content that you may be in different sections. So just keep that in mind when you do that. It could throw that off. So I would definitely just recommend just selecting the top and the bottom and adding some spacing in there. So for this animation, anything else? Let's say we'll fade up from the right just to kind of change some stuff around here. So I saved it. The padding is not as much as it was before, but still there, still looks good. Gonna click on save layout. Going to scroll down, and you see that kind of just flew up from the left to the right. So kind of gives it a little bit of feel. But that padding looks a little bit better to me. It's not too far away, but it does give it some breathing room for me to work with here. Anybody have any questions on that, on what we've been talking about here? Yes, Thomas. Thomas, did you have a question?
Sorry, I was on mute. So when you're in the settings, you're pointing out that there was, you could add background images and also YouTube videos. Is that correct? When you went into that settings?
Yeah, so let's take a look here.
Because I tried that. I don't think it was working very well for me. I don't think it was working.
And it probably won't. I mean, it's something new that they're experimenting with. So this is something that's being ran by just the Drupal community itself. So
okay,
they're still trying to figure that out. So this is something that we added on. But for these background images, I'll test one. I'm not sure how this is going to look.
The image works fine. The video media does not. It doesn't even work.
Okay.
I mean, it's nice,
but just doesn't work the best. I figured not. I mean, I guess somebody threw it in there in case somebody wanted to take advantage of it.
No, because I saw that. I'm like, oh, okay, so we can have background, video background images. I mean, excuse me, video backgrounds, and that's really nice for marketing. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because on mine, I did threw in the Arizona flag as a background, and that worked fine. Did all 100%, cropped it, but the video did not. Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Yeah. So obviously that's a pixelated image. That's right. Image to
but still a nice effect, right?
Yeah. But it's obviously something you could kind of play around with here with those things. I'm gonna click save. I haven't played around with it too much, so obviously it's hard to read with this text. You can always change that text to white, but these are the type of things that definitely play around with, see what you can do, what looks good, what doesn't look good. But yeah, I think I have also the animation part would be best with some type of image in the background, but it kind of shows you the things that you're able to do.
Right.
But speaking of that, while we're talking about this background stuff, one thing I do recommend to play around with, let's go back, because when I change that background image for those things and those animations, it kind of doesn't look best when you have some type of a background in there. So I'm going to select one. I'm going to select this color one. So we're going to add in a color. I'm going to choose this first background color. Now you see these ones and you're like, well, there's no color to it. It's not gray. This is actually something that's it's variable. It depends on the look and feel of your website or which kind of theme that you selected. And so those colors themselves will change. They kind of just don't have it so we can see it. But if
so would that be considered the first primary color and the second primary color of our websites?
Yes, I think so. We're still kind of working on it to make sure. But
okay.
Let's turn off this scroll effect here. And I'm going to click update. So I can see that it kind of puts in this lighter blue that goes along with it. I'll click save. But you see, this kind of breaks up a little bit of what we're doing, of what we've been kind of playing around with. And then when you do that, you say, oh, that looks nice in here, but now this seems like it's right on top of it. Doesn't look best. Again, that's something you can go into and give it some extra padding in that section. So scroll back down, go to section 4. I'm going to add in that padding, spacing. Padding 64, 64. Update it. Now that padding should be a little bit better than it was. There, gave some space, some breathing room. So that's some things you might run into as you're kind of creating these things. That's how you kind of change it so you have that extra padding, because sometimes these things can just stack right on top of each other. Does anybody have any questions on kind of dealing with this kind of stuff? There's definitely a lot to play around with, and there's some things that you could do that are pretty interesting, and kind of change that. You know, whether that is some type of a different type of banner, kind of what we've been seeing, these things that we've been doing. You can either do that banner stuff that we did, or you could do something more interesting. Or let's just take a look at this, for example. If I were to do something, this would be the kind of last thing I kind of want to show you guys. But let's just say I want to create a little bit of a more unique feel of this banner that I've been working on. I'm going to remove this block here. Oh, and by the way, if you have a single, if you're using, you create a block and it's only for that page and it's that one-time use. If I remove this block, it's gone, it's deleted. So technically you have to go and recreate it if you need to. It's not saved anywhere. So if I wanted this, this to be pulled up again, I'm going to have to recreate that banner. But I already uploaded the image, so it should be a lot quicker. I don't have to crop anything. But for this particular section, let's just say I wanted to create something a little bit more unique, and I can create a banner that goes along with that, a banner. So if I create a custom block here, and let's say I create a Dennis, I think you may have accidentally changed the name of the text with image. But so this is the text with image. This should just be a text with image one. But I'm going to change. I'm going to add in a body here. I'm going to go back to the cupcake ipsum. Let's just take those first couple sentences. But we also have the WYSIWYG editor here that kind of played around with to able to add some stuff in here. So let's just take a look at here. So I'm going to change the text format to this one to full HTML. When I do that, you have a little bit more stuff to kind of play around with. So if I was adding an image, or if I was adding other things in there, I could do that as well. So I'm going to select, I'm going to add in, let's just call this my cool page. I'm going to create this as under normal here. You have the various headings that you can do. So because this is the title heading, I'm going to change it so it uses the title heading. And then you have your styles here. You can change, you can add on things here, whether that's some kind of double line or red. Again, this is something that's based off of your color scheme that you have. You could do something that's just a single underline. So for this one in particular, I'm going to use this one, call it my cool page, have a description in here. And then I am going to throw in, let's see here. What are components want? Okay, so you have this template button. That's what I was looking for, where you have this ability. I would say play around with this. Take a look at kind of what these things are. They're different kind of block quotes. There could just be a box with a button in it. some kind of call to action button here, which is what I'm going to use here. So I'm going to do this call to action. It pulls up this button in here. So it's this particular button here, which is called templates. So it kind of allows you to do things. So once you kind of add it in there, if I want to change this to learn more. Oh, crap. Sorry, go back to that. I'll just leave this that right now. Okay, let me add an image here. Actually, let's go with sorry, just looking for something here. That was on my computer. Here we go. Okay. We're gonna add this in here. So this is a PNG for those of you who are kind of familiar with the format in PNG. That dark gray is just showing me that it's transparent. So I'm allowed to kind of use this in different places without changing things around. So we're just going to crop some stuff here. And say a logo of different companies. Save. I want to select one. Okay. So now that image is in there, I'm going to add this block. So now I have this this text with image that I can kind of play around with here. So I'm going to manage the attributes of this one because I want to swap these this image and this text. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to configure this section. I'm going to want to add in a background color. So let's add in that light blue that I had. Click save. And last thing I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to just add some padding to the top and bottom of things. I'm going to update it. Click on Save Layout, and let's take a look at how that looks. So this creates a different type of banner. You can get a little creative with this. Obviously, the ends of it, doesn't line up with everything. It might be one thing that I want to change to consider, take a look at. But you can kind of see that you can do some stuff in place of kind of what is there, what's kind of built out. If you play around with these things, you can make something a little bit more unique. Because of the fact that this is kind of stretching further than I would like to do. Again, you can always go in to these particular sections and change those things around. Now that's the edge to edge with no gutters. That's what it looks like when you're trying to do those banner images or those slideshows, which are good for those components. But if I add some gutters here, it will line everything up with everything else here. So going back, my kind of banner of this thing allows me to add in a call to action, and kind of gives me a little bit something that's a little bit more unique than just what is built in here. Does anybody have any questions on that? So it's kind of just kind of taking in all those configurations that you can do, kind of combining them into one, play around with existing components, and kind of create something a little bit more unique like this. Yes, Dennis.
At some point, would it be possible to get some of the videos going through, because I haven't gotten the other ones, and I know for sure I stumbled in a few sections here to try to create things. So being able to review would be great, especially since I'm not quite in the environment yet. And once I do, I know for sure I'll have to make references of these before it becomes second nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have some videos up. We're still trying to get going about it the best way. We're going to upload them onto our YouTube page that we're currently working on. We want to start tracking these just upcoming training sessions that we have onto our new showcase website that we're currently working on. It's what we sent everybody for like kind of demoing purposes to kind of take a look at it, but we're going to start adding in the videos in there as well. So you can just go to the website and just stream it from those particular pages or those meetings. So you can kind of take a look at all the past meetings. But yeah, we're working on it to get it so it's a little bit more accessible for everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. That kind of goes on to just the last task that we have here. If everybody has to go, that's fine. I'm going to stick around here. But last thing, kind of want to do, start playing around with the landing page that you've been working on. Add a color to one of the sections, add in 3 different custom blocks in different areas, add in spacing, play around with the spacing so it looks good. But yeah, it's been about 2 hours, so you guys can head out, or if you guys want to work on that, I'll be here to answer questions for the next 10 minutes.
Thank you, Vince. And thanks, everyone. I'm going to head out. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Dennis.
Do you want me to leave it recording for questions?
Yeah, let's just give everybody another 10 minutes.
All right. I'm going to step out here, but I'll be right back.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right. Well, I think we could go ahead and stop